Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something.
I wasn't expecting that
either. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny, I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things. Of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
I would love to mention just a little bit of work that I did recently in between our last call and today with my other practitioner. I sort of filled her in on the 5-year-old that we worked with, and she was familiar. I think I mentioned to you when her and I first started working, that was kind of the target part that I brought to our consult. And so she was really interested to hear about all of that. And we just sort of checked in after that to see if it was right, to go back to her or what was coming up. And we met with a protector of that 5-year-old who I was just rereading my notes on her. And it was a part that the main messages were all men want, and I'm sorry, it's a little crass, but
it's okay.
All men want is physical sex, just to objectify you and use you in that way. And if they tell you any other intention but that, they're lying and they're not to be trusted. And as I got to know this part, I'm very familiar, those thoughts are present quite often and have been a big, they're very present in dating. And as I got to know her more, she was talking about one of her main roles being pointing out red flags in people. And she's really good at observing and pointing out red flags, but she also said, I'm also really good at creating red flags when I need to, even if they're not there. And we asked her, more about that, why that was important. And essentially that core belief of hers, that even if there aren't any red flags, then it's just pretending, then it's just lying. And it's only a matter of time before the intention that she thinks is true comes to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
And I just let her know that I understood why she would want to protect me and that 5-year-old in that way. And as we got closer and had this sort of like just grounded understanding with each other, she surprised me. She apologized, and it just expressed some guilt around all the time she's had to create those red flags.
Yeah.
To get us away from intimacy or to get us away from people. And she feels badly about that. And that was really nice. We had a nice moment together with that. And that's sort of where it ended, where it left off.
Mm-hmm. Sounds nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So you're all caught up now.
Thank you. I imagine that's tricky with having two people that you're working with.
A little bit. I mean, I'm sure it's tricky for both of you. So I try that mediator part in me, which I value very much, wants to do this sort of recap and make sure everybody feels caught up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually nice to have the, I think you're both very skilled and compassionate practitioners. And it's actually quite freeing to know that it's not limited to one person.
Yeah. The ability to do some guiding.
To have some help in this, to have some space held alongside me. So yeah, it's good.
Nice. Anything else?
No, I feel pretty ready. I feel pretty good to drop in a bit and see what's going on.
Would you like a minute of meditation?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. I'll set a timer. Okay.
Okay.
So, do you know who you'd like to visit today? Any parts that you'd like to get to know better or change your relationship with?
I was feeling into some like physical sensations I've had today in my right like hip and groin area, and it's like stomach and hip on the right side. Just sort of sussing out like what that feels like. And grief came up, like grief around letting these beliefs go. I think it feels connected to the part we were just talking about that wants to put up the red flags and avoid intimacy. It's like she's seeing, her eyes are opening a bit wider and she's grieving, like letting that belief go.
Okay.
I can just feel that pain in my right side just lessened. That was nice.
Is she aware of you there?
Yeah, she's aware of both of us.
Mm-hmm.
And she's keenly aware of men, so it makes sense that she acknowledged both of us.
Okay.
She doesn't feel threatened by you.
It's nice.
Yeah, that is nice. Yeah, she's just saying, like, these are a lot of new thoughts. These are a lot of new perspectives. It's a little shaky for her.
Shaky for her to adopt new perspectives.
Yeah. To be in this world where, like, there might be beliefs beyond what she's always thought. She's having a hard time, like, letting it go. It's like, oh, this was the other. Okay, she's reminding me of what we did together last time I met with her. She had this big backpack on her back, like huge. The kind you go on, like, hiking excursions. And she was pointing to the backpack as we talked about those beliefs of, like, men are going to hurt you and use you. And she was pointing at this backpack and asking me, like, what do I do with all of this? And I asked her what she wanted to do with it. And she wanted, at first she said burn it, and then she got scared and was like, I saw her just kind of take it off of her shoulders and, like, roll her shoulders around. And then she put it back on. And then she just did that for a few minutes. Like, she would take it off. She'd feel the space, and then she'd put it back on. And the last time she took it off, she got scared again, but she ran to me. She didn't pick it back up. And I hugged. She, like, ran in for a hug, and my hands. Yeah, she was just bringing me back to that visual. My hands were on her back. The warmth of my hands were, like, holding where the backpack was before. Yeah. And she's okay. She's just letting me know, like, that backpack is still there, and I still don't know what to do with all of that. Yeah. Wow.
Is there concern that if she's not carrying that, if it's totally disregarded, that the men would still hurt you or use you?
Yeah, like, she doesn't want to create. I think she's very glad to let go of that role of creating false flags. And also, yeah, she's like, it is still true, though, that those bad intentions, they can still exist out, and they do still exist out in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's grappling with how to do this dance.
And how do you respond to that, to her point about it still being possible, or that people are still out there that could hurt you?
I'm just letting her know that she doesn't have to do all that alone. She doesn't have to be the only one observing and looking out for that. yeah, she's just seen me get flooded a lot in the past.
Hmm. Is that being flooded by parts that are saying ignore the flags or go for whatever guy?
It's many. There's a part that is very frequently when there's any sort of perceived threat, right? So when she raises up either a real flag or a false flag, there's like a frozen part that comes in, and it's hard to move, it's hard to speak. And she's seen that happen, so it's like before we can even decipher whether this is an actual threat or not, we're frozen.
Mm-hmm.
And then, there are, like you said, there are other times, and she's showing recent examples of like being so excited for somebody that
Mm-hmm.
we want to just see the good things. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said either way, self is not present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So would it help her for you to work with those parts? Can she see that being a solution, or would that be a solution?
She's pointing to yes, and she's kind of letting me know that the frozen, that's the 5-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's right. Or maybe it's very closely connected to the 5-year-old. It's like all swimming around together.
Okay. Is it okay with you? Or you?
Yeah. I'm just breathing in a little bit of patience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems like she wants me to work with the part that gets frozen because she's completely immobilized. She can see how, like, when the excited part that wants to just believe and trust and enjoy intimacy, she sees how, like, that one is more balanced. She can still get through.
Mm-hmm.
She can still, like, sneak in a flag or point out a flag here and there, but the frozen one,
Mm-hmm.
it's like just whoa. Yeah, I mean, it's just no other part can get in when.
Yeah. Okay. Would you like to try to shift to that frozen one now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just noticing the shift in my body. I think it was tensing. That it feels like the sensations when that frozen part is present.
Yeah. Just let it know that you're seeing it, aware of those sensations. You know how strong it is.
Yeah, that feels nice. It's not used to She's not used to being with me like this.
How are you feeling towards it?
Curious. It's nice. It's nice for it, and it's nice for me to not have this shame part come in that is very closely associated with this one. Like, yeah, it's showing me like frozen and then shame for being frozen.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just asking what it's like for it to feel so frozen.
Great. I was just going to say, I'm pausing a little extra before offering any questions because it sounds like you're doing a great job.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, she said like I'm not getting what I need because I'm just stuck. Terrified. Yeah, she's like, I'm like hearing, like, don't move. Yeah.
Yeah. Just let her show you that. Let her know you really understand it.
And I really feel how powerful she is.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a bit sorry she's had to become so powerful.
Yeah, you show her that.
She's actually showing me she's showing me something that happened just the other day as an example of how she feels. It was really late at night. I was letting my dog out, and we unexpectedly came like face to face with a coyote. My dog, I had my back turned, and I just heard this low growl, like a sound I hadn't heard my dog make before. And I turned around, and it was that feeling. It was that feeling of don't move, like no sudden movements. And I called to my dog, and he sort of slowly stepped back towards me, and he slowly picked him up, and we backed away, and I got into the house, and we were okay.
All right.
But it's that feeling like there's a predator staring right at you.
Yeah. Well, in this case, it was don't move and back away, right?
Yeah. It's like be so extremely aware of your movements right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Almost appear like you're not moving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel right to show her appreciation for helping you out.
Yeah. There was like a little bit of like disassociation that just started to happen. Like, airiness.
Okay. Does it have any message for you?
I think it was just scared of how real that feeling is.
Yeah.
And I think it wants me to remember that I'm safe right now.
Would it feel useful to you or this part to go to another time when the threat was more from, the red flag part, or some other less obvious danger, like a coyote?
Yeah, that was surprising what it just showed me when you said that. Yeah, it kind of just gave me a lot of quick flashes of certain memories. And one of them that stood out was a time that I was 21 and I was assaulted while I was like incapacitated. I couldn't move.
Mm-hmm. You okay with her showing you that?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a part that wants to ask if it's okay that I shared that with you.
It's very okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not clear on the connection exactly. Like,
Was it related to there were red flags, and I know you said incapacitated, but I don't know, you could consider that kind of like a way of becoming frozen.
mm-hmm. I mean, that was definitely a time that for many years, I held tremendous guilt and shame that I didn't see or act on the red flags.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, like I didn't report what happened to me because I blamed myself for it happening. Like I should have known better.
Mm-hmm. Right. So this is some of the shame that's associated with this part. Originally, you were saying, you were glad to be able to connect with it without having that shame show up and overwhelm you, or is it? I mean, does it still feel? Is self still present, and is this okay in this degree?
Yes, it's definitely okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I think it's helpful to understand origins of when certain burdens were taken on, and I can definitely I can see that I'm with both the frozen part and the part that puts up flags.
Mm-hmm.
And that memory of when I was 21 being really significant for both of them.
And the frozen part led you here. I'm wondering if this might not be a useful question at all, but I'm wondering if it's pointing more towards the stuff that happens before the assault or the stuff that happened after.
Can you phrase it in a different way, maybe?
Okay. Well, one thing you mentioned about there being shame coming up after the assault for not reporting, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking that something that might have led to why the sharp part was showing you this memory might have had to do with, when the red flags come up that are less obvious than a coyote.
Mm.
And so I was kind of wondering, is the shame or the frozenness mostly in reference to like after the assault, I didn't report to the police, etc., or is it also before there were red flags or something else going on before that it's wanting to show you?
There's shame around so like that specific incident when I was 21, I don't have a lot of memory because I was drugged, so I don't have a lot of memory around what was happening or how I was feeling when it was happening. But I know that now when the frozen part comes online, like when a part of me perceives that something like that might happen again, and the frozen part comes online, then there's shame for being frozen and not being able to act.
Right.
And,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm in this situation, something like this might happen, red flag parts coming up and saying something's not right. And then frozen part overwhelms or might take over. And that is also causing shame.
It would make a lot of sense to me that there was shame happening during that assault. Like, I don't remember, but it would make a lot of sense to me if some part of me registered what was happening to me and couldn't physically do anything about it. Then there would be it makes so much sense in my personal system that there would be shame, because so many parts pride themselves on being strong and capable.
Yeah. You could just ask the parts what they want you to know about this time, this scene.
Yeah, I think it's when it was solidified, this relationship between like the frozen and the shame parts. It was it started when I was 5 and I couldn't stop what was happening to me, but it was really taken to another level later at this other incident. It was yeah. Okay, they're saying like, I don't know which part it is, but I'm hearing like we were supposed to have learned and been able to get out of those types of situations.
Yeah. And how do you feel towards, well, the shame part and this one that's saying we were supposed to have learned?
I understand. Yeah, I understand. And I feel just a lot of, I feel really sorry that there's so many ways that people can take advantage.
Yeah.
And that it's hard to predict and interrupt all of them when there's all these different scenarios and all these different ways in which we've had to experience this.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're showing me that it's like there's this whole grouping of parts around intimacy and sex and all of these so many violations.
Yeah.
There's a familiar part coming in right now that's like don't make yourself a victim. Just like aware of how I sound like a victim.
Aware of how you sound like you're a victim?
Yeah.
And that being a bad thing in this part's mind?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. You can acknowledge that part. I don't have any negative association with if someone's been a victim of something that doesn't make me feel anything negative towards them.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that.
We have
I
met
think-
parts in you that don't want that to be true.
Yeah.
Don't want you to have been hurt, been violated.
Right. It's not okay to not be okay. Parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I get this sense because I started to feel that like pain in my right side that we kind of started with, and I'm getting the sense that acknowledging all of these different times that we were taken advantage of physically is part of the grief. It's part of the it's part of why she can't let go of that belief or is terrified to let go of that backpack completely, or like she's just like, look at all of it though. Like there's so much.
She feels like it would be too much to acknowledge them all and grieve each of them, especially with parts saying that would make you sound like a victim.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I think you're right that would be an important process of unburdening.
Yeah, and I'm just letting her know that like I don't want any part of me to erase those memories. As difficult as they are, that's not what I'm trying to do right now. Like I don't want to pretend like those things didn't happen or move past them to a degree that I forget what that felt like, or you know, I understand the importance of remembering those specific sensations, and that I also believe there is a world beyond them. That includes them, but is so much more than just that.
Yeah. Yeah. Self's world.
Yeah.
Includes all the parts, honors all the parts, doesn't delete any parts, and provides something bigger.
Yeah, and that is open and and not in a passive way, in a strong and beautiful way.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she really sees the value in that. Like it doesn't feel fanciful to her. She's taking it seriously.
Also, if you think about it just as self-visiting parts, maybe what the parts need to be unburdened isn't necessarily remembering every sensation from every violation. Maybe there are certain parts and they need certain things. I know it can just so often feel overwhelming to anyone to think that that this process necessarily includes I have to remember every bad thing that ever happened to me. But yeah, you're right about it's being open to that and open to going where parts do need you to go, and making sure that none are getting exiled.
Yeah, and I'm aware that like something that has become really apparent to me in doing this work is everything that has happened throughout our lives is stored, whether we consciously remember or think about or any of that. It's like, if I had any doubt in that before, I really don't now. And I understand that to be true. And it not in an overwhelming way, but in a way that's like actually relieving that I don't have to consciously revisit and remember.
Right.
The implicit memory of all of it is there. And just acknowledging that and being with that, like holding that 5-year-old's hands and hugging this part with the backpack, like it's
Yep.
That's what feels like relief to these parts.
Yes. It's what you have present. They're the parts that are up. You're going to them with self energy, and I'm gonna say like that's all we can do. Like it's a small thing. It's all we can do. It's a beautiful thing.
And it's the best thing.
Yeah.
Like it feels the best for them.
Uh-huh.
And it feels really nice for me.
Yeah.
And there's okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Wow, yeah. There's a part that is grieving. There's a part that thought, okay, this makes so much friggin' sense. There's a part that has thought for a very long time that if we could just remember the parts we blacked out, that we wouldn't suffer in this trauma anymore, that what happened wouldn't bother us anymore, wouldn't affect us anymore. If we could just remember every painful detail, then we would be able to heal. And there's grief around this acknowledgement of this other way to help the parts that are hurt. Hey, maybe we don't have to remember every painful detail. Maybe being with the parts that are hurt is the best way.
Yeah. And again, when you are in the company of a part that was burdened by an experience or a belief, then that part is leading you and guiding you through, here's what I need.
Right. Yeah, and this part with the grief is like a little bit bummed about that it doesn't get to like take the reins on this. Like, you know, it's been used to telling me how we're going to heal.
Yeah. It's a different angle, a different project than our parts predict.
Yeah, and it like, I think it can acknowledge that the healing, however it happens, is great. I think it's just like a little bit butthurt that like its idea didn't work or like it wasn't the one that was chosen or something.
Yeah. It's a great part. And it belongs there too. I imagine.
Yeah.
I assume it wanted you to be thorough, right? It really wanted to make sure that you did everything you could to leave everything, no stone unturned.
Yeah, it's saying it wanted me to get what I needed.
Mm-hmm.
It just thought that was the way to do it. And, but ultimately it just wanted me to get what I needed.
Mm-hmm.
I see that. I appreciate that. It's a very tenacious part.
Yeah.
That's really helpful to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, we've met a lot of parts today.
Yeah. What's next?
Okay, this felt kind of important to let this the part that thought we needed to remember, to let it know that in this process, in this going to these parts that were hurt and seeing what they needed and what they need, there's a possibility that sometimes it could be to remember certain things and certain aspects, so that
Absolutely.
just kind of like, yeah, that quality of its job is not being banished or thrown out completely. You know, it's that could very well be needed at certain points.
Mm-hmm. Can also be a very great trailhead when, why don't I remember this period of my life or something?
Yeah.
I could summarize some of the parts. I've been taking notes. If it would help to review kind of who you've met and what they might need next.
Yeah, I think that I was just sort of doing that in my head, so I'd love to do it out loud.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right hip, grief around letting beliefs go. Backpack with burdens. The red flagger, creating false flags and finding flags, looking out. then even when those, regardless of if those flags are created or found, this response of frozenness, and you weren't sure what part that was coming from. The frozen had a strong association to shame.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing it reminded you about was his feelings with the coyote.
Yeah.
But then I was asking something like, how to connect this with the red flag part. And then it led you to being assaulted age 21.
Mm-hmm.
And the shame from not acting after that.
Mm.
You said that's when the frozen part and the shame part solidified, even though they had been together since age 5.
Yeah.
And a part said, we were supposed to have learned this by now. I don't know if that was the shame part or another one.
Shame part for sure.
Mm-hmm. And then you were saying that you felt sorry for all the ways that people can take advantage and how hard it is to predict.
Yeah.
And that there are so many violations. I can keep going. Do you want to pause? Any comments? Any parts have more that they need from you now?
I can see how it's helpful, and I can see how then that, yeah, you can keep going, because I can kind of see it's like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And after you said there's so many violations, a part said, don't make yourself a victim.
Mm-hmm.
Then recognizing that acknowledging is part of the grief, and that our goal is not to erase memories, but that there's a world beyond them.
Yeah.
And then came the part that thought that the work involved just remembering all the blacked out parts and every painful detail. And it was bummed about being a little off base, at least in the way I know IFS. That's not required.
Yeah.
And that's where my notes stop.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, it's like, this is a really helpful roadmap on a lot of the, I don't want to call them pitfalls, because they're all valuable parts, but it's like the pitfalls that these parts can get into around all these feelings, emotions, and memories, and
yeah. And they all make sense.
Yes.
They all have good intentions.
Yeah.
And they can all benefit from your presence.
I'd like to know the frozen part's good intention. I mean, I think I understand, but I don't think we heard it necessarily
Okay.
from that part.
Okay. I mean,
Unless
I
it felt
I feel
obvious
like I
to
heard
you,
it.
and then
It felt obvious to me. It sounded like it
Okay.
saved you and your dog from a coyote.
Yeah. Okay, I see. It was showing me that as a valuable example.
Mm-hmm. That's why I asked about trying to shift away from that and saying, like, because that was obvious to me of like, okay, well, yeah, good freezing.
Yeah,
And then I was like, are there any less obvious red flags
right.
where freezing might not have been ideal, or there was some other, the shame comes up around or something else? That's why I was looking.
Yes, that happened just recently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm dating and at a new stage with someone, and like wasn't able to. I got frozen when he touched me, and I wasn't able at that exact moment to communicate. It becomes hard to communicate even thinking about it. I communicated the next day, and it felt really great, and I felt like I was able to really verbalize and say what I needed to say, and it was received well. And but yeah, there's a recent example of when I felt frozen, and then it's like I can't even get to know what the frozen part is saying, because shame so immediately comes in, and it's like, oh my God, why are we frozen? What's wrong with you?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So imagine just asking it, what it needs from you in those moments, how it can communicate with self more.
It's letting me know about the proximity. Like there's definitely something around like the proximity to another person. And in order to get self back online, like getting almost like a protective bubble, like, okay, that's helpful. Like maybe we can't speak, but we can take a step backwards. Maybe,
Yeah,
I don't know.
we can go to the bathroom.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the proximity that is especially triggering.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's just letting me know that like it's trying to not make anything worse than it already is. So the moment that we're uncomfortable physically,
if you say, hey, I'm uncomfortable physically, that could make more discomfort.
Right. Sudden movements, saying something that might offend or aggravate.
Sure.
Yeah. Like just, it's like the lesser of two evils. If something bad is happening, or if we perceive that something bad is happening, then we're just going to try to not make it any worse than it has to be.
Yeah. And it's such a valuable part. I mean, just to animals' survival of, fight, flight, freeze, um, that there are times when that is probably most appropriate.
Yeah.
And so I like, when you were just talking with it, negotiating with it, and it's saying, well, it's the proximity. And so maybe taking a step back, like maybe that is what it needs, is kind of these really like tactical strategies, because it's dealing with physically threatening situations.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like in order to get anybody else online, it is aware of how it's like it's so primal. And
right.
In order to get any other parts online, that physical distance just a little bit is like, as long as that person is still physically touching us, we're just flooded. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how it worked with the coyote.
Right.
It's like, all right, maximum danger sensed, freeze, and then we're going to back up and regroup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, in order to get out of that situation, my dog was in front of me, very close to the coyote. I'm, it's 5 feet in front of the coyote. I'm 10 feet away. And I was not, it just what felt right was to not, as much as I wanted to run forward to get my dog, that didn't feel like the correct thing to do. It was a freezing and then a slowly stepping back while I call my dog back to me. And that was what worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was not a charge forward and retrieve or, aggravate. I'm just asking it, like, what happens when we feel like we can't move? Because I know that that's happened before in these situations where not only can I not communicate, but I physically feel like I can't move. So how do I'm asking it, like, how do we take a step back? It's kind of laughing, like it's laughing, like, you think I know?
I think just the fact that you're in this space with it and brainstorming is great. I mean, it's a way of rehearsing it in your mind with this part.
Yeah, it wants to find out with me. Breath is important. Start with breath. See if you can breathe. I don't know what part just said this, so that's very silly. Somebody said we should make like inappropriate poop jokes to make the other person uncomfortable so they'll get away from us.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I had the bathroom idea, so
Oh, maybe that was it. Yeah.
I have to poop. It gets you out of a lot of things.
Way to get somebody away from you. That's funny.
Yeah, and the fact that you're in this space, you're feeling playful and creative. I mean, that's the best way to do any brainstorming. So,
Yeah.
is there anything else this part needs or wants other than doing this and figuring it out with you?
It just reminded me of that same thing the other night or the other week that happened. And that actually I did make a silly joke, and that is what then created some space, what then slowed things down. There's a part that this is okay. It's like a strategy that we've used before is like humor. It doesn't always work, but just to like make a situation less serious or less pressuring, just be goofy, have goofy humor while you slip away.
Yep. I have a part that really wants to share one of my strategies.
Cool.
If you're interested.
Yeah.
When I'm going somewhere that, I have concerns about my interactions or how they will, what might feel safe for me, I will often set an alarm on my phone because I have the same, I'm getting closer to people, and the proximity makes it harder to feel safe or whatever.
Assess and
So I will set an alarm on my phone for an hour and a half or something, where it's like, when this goes off, I'm stepping out for 5 minutes. And I have the alarm to blame. Oh, here's that thing I have to go do. And kind of make myself have a break and check in.
Yeah, I like that.
It's not quite as like, what do you do when someone reaches out and touches you and you don't feel comfortable, but sometimes
as I go through this dating process and know I'm going to have, I enjoy spending time with this person. It's like, it's not their fault that they're triggering me necessarily, but until I communicate that, they don't know that. But right, I can see how in a situation like a date or a situation where I am opening myself up to be more physically close to somebody, then having just an excuse to step out and check in with myself for a minute. This definitely, that proximity thing is so helpful to understand. Like, it makes complete sense. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Is there anything else any parts would like to share with me or request of me? Or concerns?
Yeah, I think like there's hopeful parts that come up around all of this kind of brainstorming, and the hope is, always one side of the coin, and and then there's a cautious part that's like, don't be so hopeful.
Yeah.
Don't, just go slow, and I don't know about all this. And
Yeah.
yeah, I can just feel them both sort of in the background as I'm brainstorming, or we're brainstorming with the frozen part. And yeah, the cautious part's just like a little unbelieving of shifts that it has recently seen, and talk of more shifts, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a lifelong process. Your discussion with the frozen part is going to evolve.
Yeah.
And the things that are dangerous today might not be in 30 years, and other things will be, and you'll need different responses.
Yeah. It does feel like everybody's on board to work together. Like, this is something that I'm noticing right now. It's like,
Yeah.
everyone has their own opinions or their own kind of hang-ups or grief around different things or thoughts on different things, but it does feel like a new and general openness to working together.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, like, mhm.
And it's working together through self. Self is the one that can really hear each of them.
That's really funny you just said that, because what I was hearing from them was, what I was seeing and hearing was like, it's like a really enlivened and impassioned family that has a really great mediator to help facilitate these debates and these conversations.
Yep. That's right. What it is. And the mediator is the one that each of them can kind of confide in and say, well, this other part won't ever understand me, but here's what I really want. Here's what really matters to me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's giggling at a part that there's many parts that are excited about that. They're just, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just feel like a good place to stop.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm excited for you and your parts. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's nice to see the value in all of these different aspects of myself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Keep me posted. And I'll share the call with you right away.
Oh, that would be great.
And talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you so much, James.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye. Good night.
Bye. Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. join the Discord server, or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows? That might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube, and they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.